Here's an interesting question for you. Why using a Bokuto when you could use a katana? What are the advantages and the disadvantages of such choice in combat? Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. This is the Metatron speaking. So it seems like this would be a very obvious answer. Always choose the katana. The katana is a better weapon than this, the Bokuto. But the thing is though, that we do have historical examples of people who actually chose to use these instead of a katana. The most famous one would be Miyamoto Musashi. And as you know, I've been working a lot on Miyamoto Musashi lately on my channel. As a matter of fact, I have already released both the water scroll and the wind scroll as my own artistic interpretation, where I shared my favorite passages from these chapters from the Book of Five Rings. If you haven't checked out these videos yet, please check them out. They're really good. I have no idea how we did it, particularly with the wind scroll. To be honest, I don't know how we did it. It looks like a freaking Kurosawa film. I'll leave links in the description below for you. So allegedly, Miyamoto Musashi did choose these. So why did Miyamoto Musashi choose to use a Bokuto? And most importantly, why am I calling this a Bokuto? Isn't this a Bokken? Let me explain it for you. I have come across a lot of martial artists, and particularly martial arts sensei, who normally would call this a Bokken. If you tell them that this is a Bokuto, then they tell you, no, a Bokuto is a different one. A Bokuto is the one that actually looks like a wooden katana. The thing is, though, that none of these was Japanese. It figures. Well, I have lived in Japan, as you know, and I speak Japanese. This in Japan is called a Bokuto. In fact, I have never heard the word Bokken in Japan. It doesn't mean that it would be wrong to refer to this as Bokken. That is also Japanese. You're just using two different characters to represent the concept of sword, because in both cases, Boku is the same character and it means wood. But the following character, if you say Bokken, Bokken is, as we know, one of the possible ways to say sword, whereas tō is actually katana. So two different ways to say the same thing. Of course, you have lots of different possible shapes for Bokuto and Bokken, and even a lot of different possible weights. Now, if you read Wikipedia in English, it does tell you this, I believe. If you read it in Italian, it tells you that Bokuto and Bokken are two completely different swords. They're wrong. Let's read the Japanese one. So Wikipedia in Japanese, let me translate it for you. So it says, Bokuto wa, so as far as Bokuto is concerned, Nihon to, Japanese sword, or is just a particle to tell us that it's going to be a direct object. Moshita, imitated. Mokuseihin, wooden product. Dearu, verb to be. So basically it's telling us that a Bokuto is a wooden product that imitates a Japanese sword. Bokken tomo yu. It can also be called Bokken, or you can also say Bokken. Bujutsu de wa, in martial arts, Kidachi tomo yu. You also say kidachi, which is kind of cool because it's wooden tachi, kidachi. I'd never heard that one before, but it must be very technical. Kaigai de wa, in foreign lands or abroad from the perspective of Japan, so everywhere except Japan, Bokken de tsujiru. You can make yourself understood by saying Bokken. So even in the Japanese Wikipedia tells us this. Bokuto, Bokken, call it however you want. So why did Musashi use this? Well, of course, out of the two weapons, the katana is the most lethal one because it's an edged weapon, it's sharp, and it's more dangerous. However, that doesn't mean that this is not a lethal weapon. This is a lethal weapon, and it can kill. In fact, when people practice with these, and normally you don't use it with sparring, but when people practice with a Bokuto, they do need to be careful. Why? Because the sort of damage that a Bokuto can deal, although it's not capable of cutting or slashing, is still very, very, very dangerous because it's very similar to any kind of weapon which deals blunt force trauma. Among possible injuries occurring from Bokuto or Bokken, we have compound fractures, ruptured organs, and other blunt force injuries. So whenever you train with one of these, you should not underestimate these. And this is exactly the reason why Musashi used these. Some people, or many people, underestimate the power of the weapon and how dangerous they can be. And this is exactly the sort of psychological combat that he was studying. And in fact, when you read the Book of Five Rings, which I have, it's always with me, yeah, I know. The Book of Five Rings by Miyamoto Musashi, he does talk a lot about this idea of working on the psychology of your opponent, crushing their mind and luring them into dangerous areas. And this is exactly what he's doing when he chooses to use these. And mind you, not only his first kill was performed with a Bokken against a katana armed samurai, and he was only 13. So of course the samurai was underestimating how dangerous Musashi was with this weapon. But even when he faces the famous duel against Kojiro, he does use a sort of Bokken. It's not really a Bokken, it's an oar that he shaped in the form of a wooden sword. So he's actually using it. So he was using an oar because he was on a boat to reach his opponent, and then he uses that very oar to fight. This is probably closer to what in Japanese you would call a suburito. A suburito, it's an interesting weapon. It's a bokuto, but it's heavier than the actual bokuto, and it's supposed to be heavier than the katana, because there are bokuto that are similar weight to the katana and similar balancement, and there are others that are lighter, but there are also suburito which are actually heavier. And this links to yesterday's video, because I talked about how the Romans trained with heavier weapon to increase their muscle ability, and that's the same thing the Japanese did and still do. So the oar that he was using was heavier, so we could consider it to be rather a form of suburito he made. And it was longer. In fact, he actually hid part of that weapon in the water so that his opponent couldn't understand his reach. So I would say that among many other things, the advantage you could get by choosing this weapon rather than the katana would be that your opponent could underestimate how much of a danger you really are. But apart from this, and with lighter ones, you could be faster, but the katana is already a very nimble weapon, so I don't think you could gain that much of an advantage with a lighter Bokuto. So ultimately, in all other instances, of course, a katana is a superior weapon, and it is a weapon that would be preferred in most fighting or dueling scenarios. But I thought it would be interesting to learn a little bit more about this weapon, and also try to reason why Musashi chose to fight with these in Mortal Kombat duel situations. So, do you train with Bokuto, and do you find it a weapon that you like using? Well, please let me know in the comments below. Today's video was a little short, and that's because I'm preparing some really big videos that I will probably film both on Sunday, Monday and perhaps Tuesday, so look forward to those. Thank you very much for watching as always, and remember, the Metatron has spread his wings. Goodbye.